I hope a recording has started. Fine, let me record at my place also. Okay. So fine. So guys, like before we start, just a second, yeah. So before we start with this session, we basically first like all of you must be hearing the word programming, right? So many of you might be thinking like, what is exactly programming? Like, what is so special about it, and what is in it? Okay, so basically, what happens is that see, whenever you have to do some work, okay, basically you have to prepare a dish or food. Then what to do is that you follow some like there will be a recipe and there will be certain instructions that you will be following. Okay, so the same thing is true in case of computers. Okay, so computers they don't have the brain of their own. Okay, they don't know what to do or what not to do. So what we do is that we give them a set of instructions, and what they do is that based on the set of instructions and certain inputs, they will be giving us the outputs. Like for example, you have to prepare a dish. Okay, so you will be given certain inputs, and what will be those inputs? There will be certain inputs like you can say rice, flour, oil, and stuff. Okay, and then there will be a certain instruction. Okay, like how to combine them, how to heat them, and stuff. And then after if everything everything happens properly, then you will be getting your final dish. Okay, in programming also similar thing happen. We give the computer the inputs, we give the computer the instructions also, and we tell the computer. Just a second, guys. I'm muting you all. If you guys have any question, you can like raise your hand. Like now, you can lower your hand. Okay. I have muted you all. If you guys have any question or doubt, you can raise your hand and tell, or unmute and tell. But till that time, I have kept you on mute. Fine. So what happens in programming is that we give the computer certain instructions. Okay, like for example, these are certain instructions that have been given to the computer, and we'll be giving it some input. And based on that, like it will take the input and the instruction. It will be giving us some desired output. Okay, not some random thing. So basically, this is the act of programming. Okay, so that is how we do the programming. But all of you guys must be knowing that the computer system, the digital system, they only understand the zeros and ones. Okay, that is the binary system. Okay, so if you want the computer to, for example, say add two numbers. Okay, it doesn't understand two numbers. Okay, you have to give the input in binary. And then also for addition, if you say like add a to b, it won't understand. Okay, you have to give some binary set of binary set instruction. Okay, so what we do is that we as a human, it's very difficult for us to code or like tell everything in zeros and ones for the computer. Okay, so what we have done is that we have made some programming languages. Okay, so what the programming languages does is that the what we do is that the programming language has a syntax. A syntax means basically these things like see out hello world. So this is a syntax. Okay, so it has a human readable form of syntax. Okay, like whenever you are seeing this, you can guess. Okay, something see out hello world. It must be doing something with hello world. Okay, so you can understand. But if I give you 0 1 0 1 0 0 1, it won't make sense. Okay, so we basically made a high level programming languages, and in programming languages the syntaxes are in such a manner that humans can understand and we can code. Okay, like after we learn the coding, it's easier for us to learn this thing than telling the computer to work in zeros and ones. So yeah, anyone of you has doubt? Okay, so what we do is that we basically we code in some high level languages. And what the high level language does is that basically after we have coded, there is a compiler, or there is this thing. Okay, this code blocks, this is a compiler. What it will do is that it will convert this code into zeros and ones that the computer can understand. Okay, this process is known as a compilation. So once it is converted into zeros and ones, the computer can understand. So basically what happened, we wrote in the programming languages. This thing can be understood by us. Then the compiler converted it into a set of zeros and ones. Okay, some instructions that the machine can understand. Okay, and then the machine can understand, so it will work on this and it will give the desired output. And the desired output can be converted back into some human readable form. Okay, the output will be also in zeros and ones, but we will convert it into the desired output. Okay, so this is how programming, this is programming, and that's how the programming languages work. And basically to serve for multiple purposes, we have lots of programming languages. Like we have C++, C, Python, Java, and stuff. Okay, they all have their different purposes, and these are the commonly used languages that that you will be using during your BTech. Apart from that, also there are certain other languages also that we won't go into. Okay, so they have their certain own purposes. And for this session, or you can say all the session that will be coming, we'll be mostly focusing on C++. Okay, if any of you have if any of the people have here have done in Java or Python, that's fine. Once we go for once the basic classes are done, we will be going for the problem solving. So at that time, the logic is what matters. Okay, you can code that same thing in Python. Okay, now let me go to the agenda. Just a second. Yeah. Now you have data types. Okay, fine. So for example, what simple program I want that there will be two now that the computer will take two inputs, a is equal to 4 and b is equal to 5, and it will give me the output, and the output will be basically equal to a plus b, that is equal to 9. Okay, so what were the inputs? The inputs were this thing, that is 4 and 5, and you can see 4 is an integer and 5 is an integer. Okay, so for example, in a kitchen you have certain utensils in which you can store the content. Like for example, you can store 4 liter of milk or 5 liter of milk. Okay, so similarly in programming, what happens is that in programming languages, you have some variables. Okay, so variables you can think like as a container. Okay, it doesn't contain anything. You can initialize it with some data. Okay, so they basically contain the data, but the thing is that what kind of data it will be storing. Okay, so you can have certain like for example, if you take the analogy of kitchen, there will be a jug. In jug you will be storing water. Okay, and for example, there is a plate, like food plate. In that you will be storing the solid food items. Okay, so you know that a jug isn't supposed to store solid food item, and similarly you are not supposed to keep water in a plate. Okay, so in programming also the same thing happens. You have certain inputs, like the input can be 4, like 4, 5, 6, that they are integers, and also the input can be fractions like 4.5 or 3.2 or 0.01. Okay, so for this, what we have done is that we are defining the type of the container. Okay, of the variable. For example, I take this thing, int x is equal to 4, int y is equal to 5.5. So what this is telling me is that x is a variable. You can simply think it like the algebraic x, like x will be as having some value, and that is equal to 4. But x is having what type of value? It is having int, and my mistake. Here it will be float. And what does float signify? Float signifies that you can have your decimals or the fraction, decimal fraction are allowed. Okay, so if you look upon 5.5, it has got an integer part and a fraction part. Okay, so this is basically a decimal fraction. So this thing is stored in y, and what kind of data is stored in y? A float type of data. Okay, so let me tell you what are the data types and what they do. We'll be coding this here. Okay, and before we begin, guys, this is the basic C++ template. Okay, you define like this is the preprocessor directive, this hash include, and IOStream is a library. For example, you have to you have to let's say you have to marinate a dish. Okay, marinate some item. So if you have to marinate an item, there are different cookbooks, right? So you have to go to the proper cookbook and see where you have the like instruction for the marination, like how to marinate that. So here also the same thing happens. For example, if I am typing cout hello world, let me execute it first, then I'll explain you how the code is working. Okay, so here you saw the output as hello world. So basically here the cout is telling me this stands for console output, and this is our console. So whatever string is there, it will be printed over here. Okay, so how the cout functions actually? Okay, so that instruction is inside this library, inside the IOStream library. Okay, and your IOStream library that stands for your input output stream. Input output stream. Basically, you can think these are certain libraries. Inside this, the instruction of the functions or instruction of the syntaxes are there. That will tell the compiler like or the computer like what to do. Okay, that is cout. You also have your printf. So printf is there in okay, fine. Can anyone tell me like printf and scanf, they are under which library? If anyone has done the C lab, under which library? This is C++ by the way.
stdio.
stdio.
Okay, STDI. Yeah, yeah,
stdio.h.
yeah. Standard input output. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. The similar kind of thing like exists in C++. This is IOStream. In IOStream, like instead of printf, we'll be using cout. And this thing I'll be telling you afterwards, like how to take the input, how to give the output. Okay. So you understood, right? The instruction of cout is inside this IO stream. Okay. And what is using namespace std? This thing you can ignore for now. Okay. This is a standard namespace. Okay. For example, if I comment this thing, the code won't run. Let me show you. If I comment this thing, the code won't run because it is asking like, and I have to do this thing. I have to explicitly tell the cout that go to standard library inside IOStream and then print this thing. Okay, now if I execute, it will print. Okay, so for example, you have to print cout hello world, then you have to print cout again, hello again. What is happening is that you have to write this std a lot many times. Okay, so that's why we have made this standard library, like standard namespace. So what we can do is that we can simply mention this thing and remove this standard colon colon. Now also we can like now also this will execute, and we don't have to write this std then colon colon cout every time. Okay, and what is int main? Int main is your main function. You can ignore this for now. Simply think that whenever you have to start a dish, right, you have to begin from somewhere. Okay, either you begin with color, like you first arrange the items, then you do some stuff. Okay, so whenever the code has to execute, it will start from this int main. Okay, and I'm missing a stuff, but still it executed, no problem. And whenever we define int main, we have to return like whatever is the data type of this, we have to return a data is number or a data that is of this type. Okay, this is like a compulsion, like this has to be done in all the code. Okay, so what happened is that you saw that it is printing hello world and hello again. Okay, but do you guys see that they are all in a same line, but here I have done cout in different line. Can anyone tell me why this is happening? Like why the hello again is not being printed just below hello world?
We have to
We
give
have
the
not given any
instruction to
line break.
change to a new line,
Yeah,
backslash
yeah,
n.
yeah. In the console output, what this is doing is that it is telling that print hello world in the console output. Fine. Then it is again telling that print hello again in the console output. Okay. Nowhere we have mentioned that go like print it in the next line. Okay. So to print it in the next line, there are certain line breaks, like we have backslash t. These are the escape characters. Okay. They have certain functions. So backslash t stands for that, like give a tab space in like basically take a tab space and put it in the output console output. So for example, if now I run this, you will be getting this hello world and then a tab space and then hello again. Okay, a tab space is basically your 8 spaces, 8 white spaces. For example, instead of backslash t, I can give 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space, 6 space, 7 space, 8 space. Let's see if the same distance is coming or not. Okay, now it was more. Okay, fine. In this, it is 4 backspaces, I guess. Okay, that's not a big deal. And if you want to print this hello again in next line, what we can do is that we can write cout backslash n. Fine. And it will be printed in the next line. An alternate is also there. We can type endl. That this stands for end line. Okay, and this end line also, like what end line does, this must be defined somewhere inside IOStream. Okay. So it's working fine. That was the thing. So now let's see what are the different data types that are there in the C++ programming languages. So the first data type which I'll be telling you is the integer data type. Okay. So integer data type you can initialize with the integer value. Fine. And to print it, what we do is that we do cout a. In printf, if you remember, like just a second, if you have to print this thing in C, you have to explicitly mention that this is an integer. But in C++, what happens is that the compiler automatically goes like it goes to A, then it sees that A is an integer type, so it knows that it is an integer, so it will print an integer. Okay. In C, you have to write this thing. So every time you have to think, okay, if this is a floating number, or like if this is a decimal fraction, or this is a integer, so that thing has to be mentioned in C. In C++, there is no such bound. Okay, you can simply write cout a, and if I execute this thing, then again you will get the output as 5, but basically I hadn't given a line break, so the 5 is being printed just after hello again. Okay, so let me give a line break. Okay, so this is the first data type that I told you, that is an integer data type. Okay, the second data type which we have is a float data type. Just a second. Okay, fine. Yeah. So the second data type which we have is a float data type. Float is basically your decimal fractions. Okay. So you can save a number, say 4.4. You can also save 0.002, and you can even save an integer like 6. Basically, integer is also your decimal fraction. Okay. And then you can print this thing, C out A, then B, then C, then D, okay, and then end L. So if I execute this thing, before I execute, can anyone guess like what will be happening? See, basically whatever data is there, that will be getting printed. So can anyone tell me what will be the output with respect to this statement? A, B, C, D. Anyone? A is 5, B is 4.4, C is 0.002, and D is 6. Anyone can say, guys. You can unmute and say and then mute yourself.
It will print in a line.
54.40.0026.
0.0026. Okay, but just a thing, like, do you think it will print 6 or 6.0? Okay, so that is the thing you guys need to see. Like, I'll execute this thing, then we'll see what is happening. Okay, so it printed this thing, 54.40.0026. But what will happen if I give 6.0 as the input? Now, anybody wants to guess?
Print 6.0 instead of 6.
Okay, let's see what will be printed. Okay, it actually printed 6 only. Fine. But another thing I would like to say, it's not like every time it will print 6. It depends upon the compiler. Okay, our compiler printed in 6, so you can check these small things. Fine. Okay, fine. So you guys understood, right? What is an integer and what is a float? Float is basically your fraction, decimal fraction. You can also assign integer to the decimal, like decimal fraction, that is float, and integers are normal integers, as I said. Okay. Let me give the line break to all of them. Just a second. Okay, line break isn't required. Okay, yeah. Because the cout statement was here, no problem, fine. Now we will go for another data type. The another data type, that is your bool. Bool stands for your boolean value. Like boolean means your true, false. Like only two values are possible, 0 or 1, or true or false. Okay, so boolean data type, let me define it as t. Fine. So what you can do is that you can write t is equal to 1, and you can do cout t. Let's do cout t, and let's see what the output is coming. Anybody wants to guess like what will happen if I do t is equal to 1? And okay, let me do it true. Okay, so boolean means your true and false. Okay, as you have in your digital electronics or digital system design, it's like that only. T is equal to true. In a basic electronics, you must have read this. True, false, 0 and 1. So I am defining t is equal to true, and I am doing cout t. Let me execute this again. Okay, so you are saying that I wrote t is equal to true, but it is printing 1. Okay, so what does this mean? So what this means is that internally the computer isn't storing true or false. Internally, the computer, what it is doing is that the true means 1 and 0 means false. For example, if I do t is equal to false, okay, so if I do t is equal to false and I execute this thing, okay, it won't print it won't print false, it will print 0, because internally 0 means false, 0 means false and 1 means true. Did you guys take a note of this thing? Like, this is really important. Like, many of you might get confused, like if t is equal to false and I'm printing t, will it print false? No, it won't print false. The true and false, these boolean values are represented in integer inside the compiler, in this programming language. Okay, but you can also define t is equal to 1. But if you define t is equal to 1, what this means is that t is true, and it will again print, just a second. Yeah, yeah, I'm executing this thing. It will print the same, t is equal to 1. Okay, fine. So you guys understood what is boolean value, right? It is a true and false, or 0 and 1. Basically, this is a data type that can store only two values. It can either store 0 or it can either store 1. And to store 0 or 1, you will need 1 bit. Okay. So Like in using only one bit, you can do this bool thing. Fine. Then we have some other things, or like some other data type like double, long. Those things I won't be discussing over. Like I won't be discuss. Sorry, I won't discuss in this meet. Okay. And yeah, I forgot one thing. There is a very nice thing that is known as a char. Okay. So what is char? So char is a special data type of type character. Okay. This char stands for character. Okay. Just a second. Let me open the whiteboard. Okay. So for example, when we are talking like I say hello to someone, okay, so you guys read it as H, E, L, L and O, okay, but you know that the computer system it only understands zeros and ones. Fine. So obviously the computer won't understand H, it will understand only 0 or 1 or something like that, okay, like some combination of zeros and 1. So for this what we have is that we have a ASCII table, okay, ASCII table. Just let me open this in Chrome. Okay. Okay, anyone I can open. Okay. So you can see that here are certain characters. Like when you say hello, right? You say H, like HELLO. So what happens is that this H, the computer understands it as 72. Okay, just a second. See, this is a small h. Small h is over here. Okay, so the computer will understand it as 104. Okay, 104 is a decimal value. So this h is basically 104. Your E is 101. L will be something, and similarly other L and O will be something that you can see from this ASCII table. Okay, and the size of the ASCII table is 0 to 127. Okay, so 0 to 127 means it is of size 128. Okay, so what happens is that whenever you input any character using your keyboard, okay, hello, hi, or semicolon, or any of the stuff, okay, all the characters that are present in your keyboard, okay, they are defined in this ASCII table, and a standardized value has been given, a standardized decimal value has been given. So whenever you tell that character, you don't tell that character. Like for example, you press the key like a small n, okay. So what the keyboard will do is that, where is n? N is here. Okay. So what the keyboard will do is that it won't send the information of as n. It will convert n into its equivalent binary form. So n is represented by 110. Okay. So you convert 110 into the binary, like whatever will be the combination 1, 0, 0, 1, whatever. Okay. And these sequences of zeros and ones will be given to the computer, and then the computer will understand, okay, this is 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1 something. This is actually 110. So indirectly the person is meaning n. Okay, so that's how the data or the characters are stored in a computer. Okay, they aren't stored in form of characters; they're stored in forms of zeros and ones only. But how do you convert a character into its equivalent ASCII value? ASCII values means according to this table, some value has been given, standardized value. Because, for example, you are working on a system in that n means 110, and in some other system n means something else. That is going to create a mess when you are programming, right? So a standard is there. This is the ASCII table. ASCII standard is there, and what it tells is that every character, the 128 characters, some of them are present in keyboard and some are some extra thing also. They're converted into some equivalent binary representation. Okay, and that binary representation's decimal equivalent is given over here. Okay, I hope you're okay. Fine, guys. How many of you don't know about binary, like the binary system? Is there anyone? Okay. Okay, some of you guys don't know binary, so let me tell in brief like what happens in binary. So for example, when we talk, whenever you are whenever you are using writing maths, okay, so you write numbers like 1, 2, 3, 33 and stuff, okay, but computer only understands zeros and ones. So what we do is that, see, basically you write from 1 to 9, okay, 0 to 9, sorry, okay, then after that you go 1, 0, then 1, 1, then 1 to 9, then you go 2, 0. So you are saying that every time the digits, like all the digits that are possible, they're getting over, the left digit is getting incremented by 1, and this process is going on. So the same happens in binary also. But you have only 0 and 1. Okay, so the first number is 0, the next number is 1, but after that there is no 2. Okay, so what will happen is that on the left of 1 you can assume there is a 0. Okay, so it will get incremented, so it will become 1, and this after 1 you have 0. Okay, and then what will be the next binary digit? It will be after 0 you have 1, this 1 will remain as 1, but after 1 you have 0. Okay, but I mean there is no 2, so you are writing 0 because after 1 0 is there, and it will get incremented. So if it will get incremented, it will become 2, but again 2 is not existing. Okay, so your 2 is indirectly what will happen is that it will be incremented. So this 1 will be converted to 0 and this will be converted to 1. I hope you guys are understanding how this is going on. Okay, so this is how the binary pattern goes on, and this is representing 0, this is representing 1, this is representing 2, this is representing 3, and this is representing 4. Okay, so there is a method to convert decimal numbers into its equivalent binary form. That I won't discuss now, but basically just understand that decimals are converted into binary, and this binary is the thing that the computer understands. Okay, so what we did is that there was a character like HELLO. We gave it an appropriate decimal value, like h was given 104. Then we converted 104 into its equivalent binary. Okay, that will be a long sequence of ones and zeros, and that is the thing that the computer is understanding. Okay, so let me take you to this. Just a second. Where was it? Yeah, here. So I defined character ch. So what this is saying is that ch is a variable. You can define c, ch, whatever. Let me define and yeah, one thing. Before I explain you what is in character, let me tell you the naming scheme that are allowed. So whenever you are defining a name, like variable name, okay, you can define it as anything, like any random thing. You can give a single character also. You can use this underscore also. Okay, like for example, I'm doing this thing. Cout g endl. These are the value. Okay, just a second. Okay, fine. This wasn't z. This is g and then some sequence of underscore. So this is that variable. Let me run this thing. Okay. So it got executed, guys. So basically, what I'm trying to tell is that the name of the variable can be anything. It can start with a. Basically it can be h, a, b, c, d, anything. Yeah.
Hello.
Anyone has doubt? Yeah, fine. So for naming scheme, the naming scheme of variable says that the first character has got to be an like a character like h, a, b, c, d, anything like that, or you can also begin with underscore. Okay, and the only restriction is that you can't begin with a number like 1, 2, 3, then x, 1x, 2x. This is not a valid naming scheme. But what you can do is that you can start with a character, then you can give any number. That is fine. Okay, you can see that it is getting highlighted properly. So that is how you like the proper naming scheme for variables. Okay, just a second. Okay, now let us go back to ch, the character thing. So I basically defined char ch. So ch is the name of the variable. So I have to initialize it with a character. Okay. So for initializing it with character, I told you that the computer won't understand A, B, or C. Okay. When you are writing A, B, or C, what the computer thinks is that ABC is a variable. For example, I define int ABC is equal to 2. Okay, so the computer will be thinking ABC is a variable. Okay, but what I want it to be is like, or for example, if I want ch to be equal to A is a character, right? I want ch to equate to a, but a is a character. Here what is happening is that you can see that I've already defined a variable as a. Okay, so the compiler will think that I'm assigning this variable into ch, but that's not what we want. Okay, so to resolve this issue, what we do is that we give a single quote. Okay, so once I have given a single quote, the computer understands that this is a character, ASCII character, and the ASCII character will be contained inside ch. So for example, if I do cout ch, now if I execute, you will see that a is printed, small a is printed. Okay, I hadn't given endl here, but a got printed. So that is how your character works. And when you take a sequence of characters, you will be having your string. Like for example, I want to store hello. Okay, so I can define a character array or a string data type. Okay, like string data type is there in C++, but that I am not discussing now. Just an example, like I can write string s is equal to hello, and then I can do cout s. See, those guys who didn't have programming before, I hope you guys are able to understand. Okay, so basically what happened is that hello is defined as a string. Like when the thing is under double quotes, it is treated as a string, and that is contained in S, and then I'm printing S. When I give single quotes, you can see the color is different. Single quote is referring to your character. Okay, this is a single character, and this is a string. String is a sequence of characters. Fine. So raise your hand. Those who were able to understand what is int, float, bool, and char and string. Okay. Fine. So for example, I want to print hello world. So here I have basically written the string and I'm printing it. Okay. But what I can also do is that I can define another string. For example, string w. Uh, let me define it as hi. So string s is hi and string w is by. Okay. And I'm printing s then w. Okay. So see, whenever you have to print something, you have to write c out. Then you have to give this less than symbol and then whatever you want to print. Then if you want to print anything else, then again this left less than symbol, and then you write the other variable. Just a second. Yeah. So can anyone tell me what will be printed when like what will this statement print? Anyone?
Hi, bye. Hi,
Okay.
bye.
And
HIEBYE.
okay. What if I want to give a space between them? What can I do?
We can use /t or uh, directly we can give the space within the string, the double quotes.
Yeah. That's what I want to say. Yeah. So when you are giving a space after hi, okay. So it's not like hi is contained in S. Hi along with the space is contained in S. Okay. Whatever, like anything inside the double quotes, that will be treated as a string. Okay. So for example, if I got some error. Just a second. Okay, I forgot to give semicolon. And guys, another thing in C++, after every statement, we have to give a semicolon. This is to tell the compiler that this is one statement. Okay, that this is where the statement ended. If I want, like the cout s and w, if I want, I can even paste it here because the compiler knows that this statement ended over here. Then whatever will be starting after this will be another statement. Okay, it won't get confused. Like if I remove the semicolon, it doesn't know if this is a single statement or double statement. So I have to give the semicolon. Okay, this is a basic error that happens most of the time while coding. Okay, so you can see it printed hi by. Okay. Let me go back to the agenda. I think we are done with integer, float, bool, and character. Okay. And in character, I want to show a good example. Okay. Let me take you back to this thing. Okay. So tell me, guys, what is the decimal value of a from this table?
97.
97.
Yeah. It is 97.
97.
Yeah. You are correct. You are correct. See, when I'm printing a, but see, like when I did cout ch, okay, and it printed a. But let me do one thing, and then you will understand what will happen. I am writing int in brackets. Okay. Just a second. Int ch, fine, and a normal ch. So now anyone would like to guess like what will be the output if I wrote this int thing?
For int ch, it will print the the decimal number 97, and for ch, it will be printing a only.
Yeah. That will happen. Let me show you. So your 97 and A is getting printed. And why this is happening? This is happening because of the reason that internally in the computer, what is happening is that inside the computer, in the memory, CH is actually saved as your 97's decimal representation, sorry, binary representation. Okay, 97 will be some 10101, whatever it is. Okay, it is represented as this. So when I'm doing cout CH, so the compiler is seeing that CH is actually a character type. Like it is a character type variable. Okay, so it is converting this thing into a character. Okay, so this 97 was getting converted into a character, and it was getting printed as a. But now what I'm doing is that I'm explicitly telling the compiler that don't print is that, like, don't convert it back into a character. Okay, you print it like an integer only. Okay, so basically A here it was 97, it was getting printed as character as A, but now I am telling is that you print it as as an integer. Okay, so the moment I am doing it, 97 is getting printed. As you can see in this case, 97 is getting printed, but the reverse thing is also possible. For example, if I write int z is equal to 97 and I do cout z and I, and let me also do cout char. This may give an error, but let me check. If it will give an error, it will execute properly. Okay, so now you can see that initially z is equal to 97 and I printed z, so 97 was printed. But then what is happening is that I am telling that convert that 97 into the equivalent ASCII character and then print. Okay, so it is getting printed as A. See, this is an int only, but it is getting printed as A. So while printing, I can explicitly change, like it is, if it is a character, it is an integer. Here also this thing can be done. For example, it is 6.3. Okay, and let me execute it again. Yeah, before executing, let me do one thing. Let me print D again, but now I'll be typing int. See this thing. See, A got printed as 5, B got printed as 4.4, C got printed as 0.002, and what happened to D is that this is a normal D, so it is printing a 6.3. But after that, I'm telling is that convert this decimal fraction into a decimal and then print. But you know, you cannot convert a decimal fraction into a decimal, or in other words, if you convert a decimal fraction into a decimal, your fraction part will be lost. Okay, so that's why only 6 is getting printed. So so for example, if someone tells you that you are given a floating value, okay, float x is equal to 5.7, and someone asks you that print this thing, but always round down. Okay, round down as in like 5.7 will be round, your like 5.7 will be printed as 5. You are rounding down. Okay, so when we're doing when you're rounding down, you can simply do what you can do is that you can convert it into an integer and then print. Then you know that the output is going to be 5. Okay, so that was it for the data, your various data types that are there. And see, yeah.
The inverse that you said about intent care, the
Yeah.
in Z97, that inverse is only possible up to 0 to 127, right?
Yes. After that, let us check what will happen. But see what can happen is that, let me just a second. Where is my whiteboard? Okay. So see, for up 0 to 128. Okay, 128 is 2 power what? 2 power 8, right? 2 power 5 is 32. 64, 128. 2 power 5, 2 power 6, 2 power 7. Okay, my bad. Yeah, 2 power 7. Okay. So if it is 2 power 7, that means you will be having 8 characters, right? Like, I mean 2 power 0 till 2 power 7 in decimal representation, so in binary representation, right? 2 power 1, 2 power 2, 2 power 3, 2 power 4, 2 power 5. Let's say 2 power 6, another is also there. Okay. So so this is how a character is represented. Okay. There are some 8 spaces, like 8 bits. But integer in C++ takes 32 bits. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, for example, there is a very big number like 1024, not 1024. Let's take 1025. Yeah, 1025 is fine. So 1024, 1025 is equal to basically 1024 plus 1. So it will be 1, then followed like this is 1024 is your 2 power something. It will be 2 power 10
or 10.
Yeah, 2 power 10. So basically it will look something like 100000000 or something, then 1. Okay, and there will be 11 characters, right, from 2 power 0 till 2 power 10. So when you typecast it, right, like see this thing, I will do the experiment right now. I am not sure. When I will typecast it to character, what may happen is that it will only consider the last 8 bits. Okay, and that will be converted into the appropriate ASCII character will be printed. So let's do this thing. 1025. Let z is equal to 1025. Okay, just a second. 1024 plus, what was the value of A? A is 97. Okay, so what I am telling the computer is that z is equal to some very big number plus 97, but only the value. Okay, fine. You guys may be confused. Let me just execute this thing and then it will be clear. Okay. Yeah, see, hello. Yeah, the guy who asked, okay, that this should work only from 0 to 127. This is actually working even after that. But what is happening is that only the last 8 characters are converted into the appropriate character. The last 8 characters of 1121. Okay, if you find in binary, that will be actually representing A. Did it make sense? The guy who asked that question.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, basically it can be anything, but
Yes.
like when you typecast it, only like only the last 8 bits of the integer will be converted into the character. Okay, so that was it for the data type thing. Okay, see guys, those of you who are able to understand 50% or more, please raise your hand. See, all the things you may not be able to understand, you can watch the recording afterwards. Okay, or you can like see some articles and stuff. Okay. So I guess many of you were able to understand. Okay, fine. Till this time, anybody wants to ask me anything? I explained you what is float, int, bool, and char. See, string, this thing, there are some special operations in string. That thing we will discuss afterwards. It is not required right now. Right now, think it to be some basically a normal string. You are printing it. Okay. Okay, fine. Guys, if there are no doubts, or as of now, if you guys have some,
Is
yeah,
string a data type, a specific data type? Because all our other data types are highlighted in blue, whereas string is just green.
See, string, yeah, I agree. String, if you have done C, then you know there is no string data type. You use an array of characters.
Yeah,
Okay.
character then third bracket.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
this
yeah.
string can be actually derived from char. See, actually, when like in normal life, we treat string as a data type only. But in this version of C++, maybe that is a derived data type that is getting derived from character. See, I am not sure. We have to check on internet. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Fine, but see the main thing were there, and some other thing like this typecasting thing I explained you. Okay, if there is a decimal, you typecast it to integer. What will happen is that the fraction part will be ignored and only the decimal part is printed. Okay, okay, that was it. Now let us go to the next part. Okay, so next part was C in and C out. So you can see guys, in all the stuff that I did over here, everything I initialized or everything I defined initially only. Okay. But what if I want the input to be dynamic, like depending upon the user, the input will be coming. Okay. For example, let me Control Shift N, okay. Control S, t2.cpp. Okay, guys, this is the basic framework, the basic template of C++. Okay. Now I'll be explaining you how to take user input. Basically, see out you guys. I hope you like we did so many things. I hope you guys were able to understand. Now let us see how to take cin. So when you are taking cin can be of any type. Like it can be in character, it can be your boolean, it can be your string, it can be anything. Okay. So let me define all the different types like int a, then float b, then char c, and what we had bool d and string S. So you guys can see that I didn't define A, B, C, D initially. Okay, what I want to do is that I'll be taking the input from the user, and then I'll be printing it because in this kind of code, every data was predefined. Okay, for example, you have a calculator, but in the calculator like both the operands are predefined and it is adding and it is showing the output. That's not much of use. Okay, we want it to work dynamically based on the user input. Okay, so to take the input, what we do is that we write C in, then we give this symbol greater than, and see like you guys may get confused, like for C out is if it is less than or greater than. Okay, just think this way. Here you have a data a is equal to 5 and this data has to be printed in the console. Okay, so think the arrow, this arrow is that way, that wherever is the bigger part, okay, the data will be pushed toward that. Like this is C out. So basically what happens is that 5 is getting pushed towards this and it is getting printed in the console. But if you take C in, what is happening is that user is giving the input and it is getting pushed towards this C in thing that will basically it is getting pushed into this A. Like you see, you guys can like after certain practice you can remember, or that's how I remember. Like whenever it is C out, I have to push the data outside, like to the console. So that's why less than less than. This less than symbol is like it is getting pushed outwards. The bigger side is like towards the right, and for C in it, the bigger side is towards the left side. Okay, C in greater than A. Okay. So C in greater than A, what it will do is that it will prompt in the console. It will prompt that you give an input. The moment you give an input and press enter, that data will be transferred into A. Okay, so let's do this. C in A, C in B. Okay, and another thing, guys, if you want, you can take the input this way also. Like it will first take the input of B, then once you press enter, it will take the input of C. You don't have to write C in every time. Okay, you can just give a greater than this this symbol after every input. It will work properly. So C in B, C, then let's do D, and then S. Okay, so now I have done the C in, but I also need to print this thing. Okay, because the data that you gave in the console that got into the memory, but we also need to see that if if the correct data was transferred or not. So for that I'm doing C out A and L B and L C and L D and L S. I'm giving endl every time so that there is a one line space, like in the next line it is printed, so we can see it properly how the data is coming. So now let us run this thing. So first is an integer, so let's give an integer, let's say it's 45. Then is a float value. Okay, float value, it can be anything, it can be an integer, it can be a decimal fraction. Okay, so let me give 3.0098. Then I have to give a character is F. Okay, if you give 5, that is also fine, or 4, or anything like 8. But here 8 is not the integer 8, or it is not the number 8, it is a character 8 that you type. Okay, it is like that. So let me give the input as a character only, T, and then I have to give the input as this boolean. Okay, here I have to give the input as 1 or 0 only. Okay, true or false may give an error, we can execute it later on and check. And for string I can give a random string, and I'm pressing enter. So you can see that the same thing was printed. Okay, this thing,
how to prompt for input, like enter a number or enter a string?
See, for that I think get ch was there, but see, in general what we do is that we do something like this: c out enter integer, float, char, bool, string. Okay, so that this thing will be first printed and then the input will be asked. So here I can type cout enter input. This thing I can paste it after this. Like basically what happened is that let me execute it, and then you will be able to understand. So it is telling me that enter integer, float, character, bool, and string. So first then it is asking that enter the input.
It's frozen.
Yeah, yes. I think I'm not getting a question. Please tell again.
I think your screen is frozen. I mean,
Okay, just a second.
your-
Let me share it again.
you are presenting frozen.
Just a second. Yeah. Now is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. So input, so integer 5, and instead of spacing enter, you can also give a space. Okay, that also counts. Like the moment I gave a space, 5 was taken as input and it was assigned to A. Then float. So for float, I can give 4.5. Char, I can give, this time I'm giving 7. Then for bool, I'm giving 0. And for string, I'm giving high 76 something. I'm pressing enter. 5 was printed, 4.5 was printed, 7 is printed. Boolean value 0 was printed, and the string was printed. Is this fine? Like, see, this is a normal thing we do. Is it is it fine for you, the guy who asked?
Okay. Yeah, it's
Okay. See, that was in the basic C in C out. You take the input, then you play with the inputs in the code, then you print the desired output. Okay. And what you write in the code is the main thing. Okay. Then we'll be coming to operators. So these operators, these are basic thing. Just a second. There are some 3 types of operator that I had studied. Maybe I think that many only exist. So we have binary operator. These are your normal thing only that you do. Like for example, I have to do 5 plus 1, basically 5 plus 1. So this plus required 2 operands. Okay, a left, like an operand on the left side and the right side. Okay, so this is a binary operand because this required 2 operands. Okay, so your plus, minus, multiplication, division, and anybody knows what is this thing called? This percentage thing. Like what this is, which operator? What does it does?
So it finds the remainder.
Modular.
Gives remainder.
It gets
division operator.
during your J you must have something like 5 is congruent to 1 mod 4. Okay, so this mod thing is written as this modulo. Okay, so if I do 5 modulo 4, the output will be equal to 1. Okay, so this is how you guys might be writing during your in the maths class, and in computer you basically write like this. Okay, modulo basically what it does is that divides 5 by 4, like 5 is divided by 4 and whatever is the remainder, it is that is the value of it. Okay, so this is basically representing 1. Okay, so you have certain binary operators. This thing I won't explain. This is simple. Like you have 2 variable a and b. You have a third variable c, and you want to have the sum. Then you can write c is equal to a plus b. So this is a binary operator. It took 2 operands. Okay, and then you have certain this thing is really important. Unary and unary operator. Okay, so unary operator, what it does is that, let me show the example. It will be really fun. Not this. I'll just I am defining. Okay, so guys, input output was done. Okay, I hope this was simple only. So for example, I define int a is equal to 5, and I type cout a. So the moment I execute, what was happening is that 5 was getting printed, right? 5 was getting printed. But what the unary operator does is that it will modify the value. Minus minus will decrease it, and plus plus will increase it. But there is a catch in this. If I do cout a plus plus, okay. So according to this, just a second, let me again do cout a. Some questions can be asked in this thing. Okay, they are really confusing. Even I get confused. But there is a certain instruction. Oh, wait, see, guys, what was the value of a initially? It was 5. So when I did cout a, 5 was printed. This is that. Just a second. Cout plus plus a, and then cout a, and then. Guys, today is the introductory class, so we are going very basic stuff. Okay, those who don't know, I hope you guys are able to understand like what things are happening. You can later on go and see the recorded video and refer to some other sources. Oh, let me tell you how this unary operator works. Okay, so initially we had the value a is equal to 5. Just a second. Yeah, here. So initially we had a is equal to 5. Then I'm printing a. So when I'm printing it, the output is 5. Then I have a plus plus. So a plus plus means the value of 5 has to be increased. But here the catch is that if the plus plus is coming after the variable, so this is known as a post increment operator. Okay. So what will happen is that a's value will be increased, but first it will be used, then it will be increased. Because here you can see when I'm doing cout a plus plus, first a is coming. So the moment a came, 5 was printed. Okay, cout a came, 5 was printed, but then it is a plus plus. Because it is a plus plus, now the value of 5, this 5, got converted into 6. Okay, so now the value is 6, but 5 was printed. Why? Because it was a plus plus, and a has to be first used. Okay, first used, then modified. Just a second, here it is in this. So it is first used and then modified. Okay, and if it is plus plus a, what this means is that first modify, or you can say first update and then use. Okay, so that is what is happening. So initially a was 5, a got printed as 5, then it is a plus plus. So 5 will be printed, but this value a of the value of a will be incremented by 1. Plus plus means increase by 1. Okay, so it will increase by 1. So now the value of 5 becomes 6. Sorry, the value of a becomes 6. Then I'm doing cout a. So the moment I'm doing cout a, the value of a is 6. So 6 is getting printed. Okay. Now what is happening? Now it is cout plus plus a. So if it is cout plus plus a, first the value has to be updated, so it becomes 7, and then it has to be used. Then it got used, so 7 was printed. Now I am again printing A, so 7 is printed. So this is how what? If I do, for example, A minus minus. Okay. Now can anyone tell me what will be the output? Like you can, like, okay, fine, let's work out. Okay. What is the initial value of A? It is 5. Okay, so 5 is printed. Then it is A minus minus. Okay, so first use 5, I mean first use the value of A, then update it. So if I again, if I use the value of A, then the same value will be printed. Yeah, it will be 5, but the value got updated to 4. Okay, then 4 will be printed over here. Then it is asking that first update and then use. If 4 will be updated, like 4 will be updated to 5 because it is plus means plus 1. So 5 is printed, and then I'm again printing A. So again 5 will be printed. So it should be 5 5 4 5 5. Let's execute. Okay, it is 5 5 4 5 5. In short, what happens? Plus plus means it will be increased by 1. Minus minus means it will be decreased by 1. If it is coming after A, like the operator unary operator is coming after the variable, first use the variable, whatever value is there, you use it, then update it. Okay. And if it is coming before, first update it and then use it. But now a very tricky question. Okay. I mean, it may be tricky for you. I'm doing A minus minus. Then I'm doing, let me do it plus plus A. Plus plus A. There is a precedence of operator. Okay, like you know the BODMAS rule, like A plus B into C. So first B into C has to be done, then A plus B has to be done. Okay, so here the similar kind of thing occurs that we will see. Then I'm doing A plus plus. Then I'm doing A. That is fine. Then I'm doing endl. Anybody would like to guess what will be the value right now? I hope it is confusing. Like I hope you're getting confused. I mean, I don't want you to get confused, but you're getting the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, I will execute it after some time. Anybody wants to guess what will happen? See, what is the problem that is happening? See, here plus plus A is happening. So what does plus plus A tells? Plus plus A tells that first update and then use. But now A plus plus is there. Okay, so now you are confused that after updation, like after this thing was executed, whatever value happened, that will be printed and then it will be incremented, or whatever value of A was there initially, that will be printed and then it will be updated and then it will be again updated and done. Are you getting why it is confusing? Anybody would like to take a guess? What will be the output?
5 6
Okay.
6 7 8.
Okay, 5. Just a second. It is not visible. Yeah. Just a second. Okay, so again tell the output.
5 6
5
6
6
7 8.
6 7 8.
5 6 6 7 8. Okay, and
I
why?
have a different answer.
5 6 triple 5.
5 6 triple 5. Yeah. This is the problem that I wanted to discuss. Okay, yeah. I hope you guys understood why the doubt is coming. Okay. First use A, then update, or what has to be done. Okay, so now let us execute, and maybe both of you get. I mean, both the answers could be wrong. Okay, anybody has some other answer?
Yes, bhai, I have.
Yes, sir.
77655.
77655. Okay, 1 or 2 more answers also you guys give. Maybe it will match. Anybody else has some more like possible combination? Okay, let's execute this thing. Okay, and actually there is a precedence of this. That thing I've forgotten. Like you can go and see in internet. This kind of questions are asked in your MCQ. What will be the answer? And if you have a computer, you can execute it, or else you have to remember that code. Let's try to debunk it. What? Okay, I have some mistake. I've done some mistake. What is the mistake? Okay, semicolon I forgot. Again, as I said, common mistake. Okay, 5 6 6 7 8. 5 6 6 7 8. So what happened? A was 5. Okay, 5 got printed. Then plus plus A is coming. Okay, because plus plus A is coming, the value of A was increased to 6. Then it got printed. So 6 came. Then 6. Then 6 has to be used. Then it has to be updated. Okay, 6 got used, but 6 will be now updated to 7. But now it is like first use it, then update it. So 7 got used, then 7 was updated to 8, and then 8 was printed. Were you guys able to understand? But now let me do the actual thing. I am giving a semicolon right now here. Let me do A minus A. I hope it is confusing. Okay, see guys, I gave a semicolon. Now anybody would like to guess what will be the answer?
First will be 5, 6, 6, 7, and the
Okay,
second
just a
one will
second.
be 4,
5,
4, 5,
6,
6, 6,
7. Yeah, this
7,
much
and the
should be.
second one will be 4, 4, 5.
Yeah, guys, just a second.
Sir, second one will be 667.
Yeah. See. What problem is occurring? Let me tell. When you are doing minus A, you are thinking, is this A getting modified, or after this statement is executed, this will be modified? Okay. So here you can see that obviously this statement will be executed first and then. Okay. So this 4 should be a mistake. I hope so. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. Your answer I understood. It was starting with 4. Any other answer that anybody else was giving?
5, 6, 6,
So
7.
last one 667.
Okay.
5, 6, 6, 7, 6, 6, 7.
5, 6, 6, 7, 6, 6, 7. Let's execute. 5, 6, 6, 7, 6, 6, 7. So basically, whenever semicolon comes, okay, we have to first execute that part, and then only the next part will be done. And this how it works. I explained you. It goes in a left to right fashion. Okay, it's not like 5 is pasted over here, 5 is pasted over here. Like here 5 will be there. No, it's not like that. First this thing will be like that. This thing will be printed, then the right, then the next thing, then the next thing. Okay. I hope you guys were able to understand. If this is confusing, that is fine. You can go and play with your computer. Okay. Even I had forgotten this thing a little bit. Obviously, I knew it was left to right. The precedence was there. Okay, fine. That's fine. See, and there are some other things related to precedence, but that is not required. I mean, you will learn that thing while doing solving problems. Okay. Then we have a very nice operator. This is known as a ternary operator. Okay. This takes 3 operands, and I think okay. Let me explain it to you. Fine. So, guys, a basic program. What comes to my mind is that if the variable is a even number, print it is even. If it is an odd number, print it is odd. Okay. See, now we are using a bit of intelligence. Okay. Because if I give a very big number, I know that you guys will just check the last digit and see if it is even or odd. Okay. But for example, it can be anything. Okay. Let's check if it is even or odd. And just a second, maybe integer overflow will be there. Let me take a small value. 5767. Okay. So to use this, what do you call, ternary operator, what we do is that, just a second guys, tell me what is the meaning of this percentage symbol? What we call this percentage symbol?
Mod.
Mod.
Module.
So it finds the reminder. Okay. So the moment I'm typing a mod 2, what is this representing?
The remainder.
Yeah, the remainder after
remainder.
this.
It's that number is divided by 2.
Yeah. So if it is equal to 1, okay, I have to explain this equal to 2. Just a second. Okay, fine. In this example only you'll understand. Okay, guys, what happens is that when you type this equal to thing, the value in the right side gets assigned to the left side. Okay, for example, there are 2 variables, int a is equal to 4 and int b is equal to 6, and I type a is equal to b. So what happens is that the value in b will be transferred into a. So a will be modified. A will become 6. Are you guys understanding? It's not like the left will become right, or it is not. There's not comparison or anything. Okay. So like whenever you write a single equal to sign, this means it is assignment. The value on the right side will be assigned to the left hand side. And when you write equal to, this is like comparison. Okay. Is a modulo 2 equal to 1? Let's okay. Let me okay, fine. Forget it. We will come to that part, but we'll come to it later on. I am first writing a equal to 1. Guys, this is 1, this is a. Are both of the values same? Yeah, true or false?
True.
True. So when I gave a bracket, what this is meaning is that this is representing true. If I write is a equal to 0, this is true or false?
False.
This is false. Okay. Basically, equal to is used for comparison. Are they equal or not? So if I write a equal to 1, so this means that if then we use the Sternman operator. Let me write it, then you will understand. Okay. So what this does is that first it compares is a equal to 1 because this is inside the bracket. Okay. Is a equal to 1? Is it true or false? In this case, if a is initial is 1, is it equal to 1? Yes,
Yeah.
it is true. If it is true, what will happen is that this statement will be executed. If it would have been false, okay, like if a was 5 and it would have been false, then the first statement will be ignored and whatever is coming after this colon, that will be executed. Okay, so for example, if I run this thing, okay, so it is a is 5 and 5 is not 1. Basically it is saying a is not 1. Okay, but in case if we make it 1 and I execute this thing, it is coming a is 1. So what is happening is that it is first comparing. If it is true, this statement is getting printed. If it is false, this second statement is getting printed. And what is the how the how is the operand? Basically you have a statement like this is true or false. Then you have this question mark symbol. If it is true, the first statement will be executed. If it is false, the other statement will be executed. So how many of you guys were able to understand this ternary operator? See, this is giving us a very powerful, it is giving a power that we can compare the numbers right now. Okay. And we have if else statement. Ternary is basically it was there, so I told you. Okay, fine. Yeah, that's good. Other guys who didn't understand, you see the recording again, you'll be able to understand, and you can check it in internet and other stuff. Okay. So this is ternary operator. We are done with this thing. Okay. Now we'll go for if else. And just a second, guys. I'm just asking, are you guys shall we end at 7:30 or should we go up to 8? Like, I don't have any problem, but I'm asking about you guys. If you guys want, we can end at 7:30. You guys can type.
7:30 will be better.
Okay, 7:30 will be better. I thought that I'll be able to explain all of them in a go, but that's fine. That's for another class. Okay. So now we'll be doing the same. Okay, fine. This thing you guys were able to understand. Now let me tell. I'm typing this. A is even, and A is odd. I basically changed the cout statement. Okay. And guys, this is the basic introduction class, so that's why it's easy. It will it will get much more interesting, and we'll be discussing much more good problems after this. This is a basic class. For those who don't know the syntax, they will be understanding like how the syntax is working, and they can go and work out on them afterwards. Okay. So guys, you know A is even is getting printed. Why? Because 1 is equal to 1. So basically, if it is true, this is printed. If it is false, this is printed. Okay. So what I can do is that if I type A modulo 2 equal to 0. Can anyone tell me what will this do? Yes, A modulo 2. What does that mean? A will the remainder of the remainder after A is divided by 2. Okay. If the remainder yeah, sure. See A modulo 2. What for example, A is 35. So 35 modulo 2 is 1 because 35 is congruent to 1 modulo 2. Okay, whatever you say in maths, the same thing is true in this modulo thing. So you divide by 2, the remainder is 1. Is 1 equal to 0? Is it true or false? It's false. Yeah, if it is false, then the right statement will be executed and it is odd. So what basically the programming is doing is that it is finding the it is dividing by 2, it is checking if it is divisible by 2, if A modulo 2 equal to 0, basically it is divisible by 2. If it is divisible by 2, it is true, then print A is even, else print A is odd. So we got a nice program. 35 and 35 A is odd. Okay. But now what I can do is that I can take the input as dynamically. Okay. I took the input dynamically. So now what will happen is that I have to give the input. Let's give the number 3435. It's an odd number, right? Our programming is telling is A is odd. Instead of A, let me do it as A. we want to print the value, not the string a. Okay, now let's again execute it. Anything 6345. 6345 is odd. If I give an input even number, for example 5324, it is even. So I hope you guys were able to understand like how this ternary operator is working. Fine. That's how you can do even and odd. Okay, after we learn loops, we will be doing lots of good programming, and we'll be going on for the more tougher question, and we'll be also switching the IDEs. Okay, for today I use code blocks, because code blocks everyone knows how to install. You basically have to download this thing. Everything is pre-installed, the MinGW compiler and stuff. Okay, now let's go for if-else statement. What if-else statement does is that it does the same
Sir,
thing.
what is the code of this section?
Again, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
What is the code of this section?
Code of this section, I didn't get.
I mean, to join in MS Teams, there is a code. No?
No. See, this was a link based event. If required, we will do it in other. See, this can only be joined using the link. There is no other way.
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. See, basically, what was happening in ternary is that you were comparing something. If it is true, you are executing this. If it was false, you are executing this. Okay. So the same thing happens in if else. So in if else, what you do is that the syntax looks something like this. If something, you write the condition or the comparison thing. If this thing is true, execute this thing, the if block. If it isn't true, then compare this thing. Okay. I'll code it. It will be, you will be easily able to understand. If a modulo 2 equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, guys, it will be odd. It will be odd number or even number. If if after the modulo over 2 is 0.
Even.
Yeah, it will be even. Just a second. Okay. So C out even. And otherwise, we'll type C out odd. Okay. Now let's do this. Let me give the input as 45. 45 is odd. Just a second. I have to give the endl statement. Endl. Whenever in capital it is printed, you know that this is occurring because of the if else statement. Okay. I'm again executing 56. You can say 56 is even is getting printed using the ternary operator, and it is printing only even in this if else statement. So how many of you guys were able to understand the relation between the ternary operator and if else statement, like how they're correlated, like it's kind of similar? And the syntax is basically this. You give the condition over here. If it is true, if block will be executed. If it is false, the else block will be executed. Simply like, if it is true, do this. If it isn't, then otherwise do this thing. So how many of you guys were able to understand this basic if else thing which I explained to you? Please raise your hand. We will do one more code and then we can leave. You guys can leave, and we can have a talk, like if anybody wants to ask something. Okay, fine. So now what I want to do is that, is 1 or okay, is 0 even number or odd number? I mean, it is an even number, but for this reference, let's say that 0 is neither, like it is 0. Okay, a number, any number, it can be either 0 or it will be even or it is odd. Okay, so what I can do is that before I write this statement, I'll be doing this. Let me first write in the if else statement. If a equal to 0, then print it is equal to 0. Then you can write else if. This is known as your if else ladder. Basically, what it is doing is that first compare this thing. If it is true, print. Otherwise, compare something else, print. Otherwise, print. Okay. So what the next thing it will be doing is that if a modulo 2 equal to 1, it is odd. Else out even. Guys, anyone like anyone is able to understand like how this is working? Basically, first I'm checking if the number is equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, there only I'm printing 0. And see, once a block is executed, like once this statement is true, these things won't be executed. Okay, if it is true, this is executed. Now, for example, I'm running this thing. I'm running this thing and I give the input as 0. It is printing 0 according to this if else block, okay, because it was equal to 0. But in case it is not equal to 0, for example, it is equal to 23, then what will happen is that the next block will be checked. Is the next block true? A modulo 2 equal to 1, yeah. 23 modulo 2, that is equal to 1, and 1 is equal to 1. It is true. So it is printing odd. And if both the cases are in true, if it isn't 0, if it isn't odd, then it has got to be even. So it is getting as printed as even. Okay. So now we'll be doing the same thing in ternary operator. Okay. So first I'll be checking a equal to 0. Is this thing true? If this thing is true, then cout 0. If it isn't true, okay, you have to give the colon. If it isn't true, what we have to do? We have to then compare this thing. Isn't true, we have to take the modulo and check if it is equal to 0. If it is equal to 0, then it is even, you can print. But if it is if the modulo is not equal to 0, like after dividing it by 2, then it is odd. Let me execute this thing. Input is 57. So you can say 57 is odd is working. So and even if I give the input as 0, it is printing 0 and then 0. So how many of you guys were able to understand how the ternary operator, like we can, like this is known as if else ladder, okay? If else, then you can write another if else. It can go as long as you want. That is the if else ladder, and this is known as your ternary operator. Okay. You check if it is true, this statement will be executed. If it isn't, this whole statement after this colon will be executed. Now in this you are again checking. If it was if the modulo 2 equal to 0, then you print it as even. If it isn't, you can simply print it as odd. So how many of you are able to understand this thing? How how you can do much more complex operation using ternary operators. Yeah, guys. I think that was for today. We have.